Hello Whiskey Relic Hunters, welcome to Whiskey Whistle. I'm your host Mark, and this is Whiskey Review number 124. 124, what's going on? Yes, that's right, it's 124. I did release just 125. I did just release 125 today, in fact. So we're going back in time because I ended up losing a video due to my own error. That happens a lot. Yes, anyway, so what's that going to be today? We're looking at Imperial Speyside Single Malt, a single malt from the Speyside region in Scotland. It is no longer, well, I should say the former distillery is no longer. It was actually totally demolished in 2013. Rumor has it that it is slated to be, or perhaps already in redevelopment, reconstruction. And it will likely be called Imperial again. Anyway, so thankfully I kept quite a lot of that one, and I did that because that's quite a rare single malt. Not easy to get, and probably won't get another chance perhaps in my lifetime. And if I do, maybe once more. So that's it. So I want to hang on to as much of that as possible, but I'm going to end up using, well, at least half of that again. So we'll try to go for about 15 or 20 milliliters or so. So I can keep a little bit for someday in the future. All right, let's get that poured. This little sample, this is from the Signatory Vintage, their collection called the Un-Chillfiltered collection. And you can see the bottle scrolling through there on the photos. And now I've opened that up. I can already smell this very interesting malt. Anyway, it's 20 years old, it's 46% ABV, and as the name would suggest, it is un-chill-filtered, and I also believe of natural color. Okay, now that's a little bit less than I like to review. I'm going to try to add just one more little drop there. So I've got a little bit left for a future occasion, whatever that may be, and enough to give you a good idea of what this interesting, hard to get, well, silent, not only silent, but demolished distillery's whiskey. So 20 years old, we should let that breathe a little bit, and put the cap on there. Now you may be looking and wondering, okay, now there's some odd things on your little table there, Mark. That's right. Well, first of all, from the review 123, we have the Mortlach 18-year-old, and then from 122, the Kleinlich 17-year-old, and these are all part of the same collection from Signatory Vintage. So I've got two little straws which are going to function as little tiny Valanche, little tiny Valanche testers. So I'll stick that in there, take out a small sample, and try it one more time so that I can compare the three after I've tasted this one and told you about the smells, the tastes, the aftertaste, and given it a little score for you. Okay, so let's talk about this distillery because, like I say, this is probably the only chance that I'll get to review an Imperial single malt Scotch whiskey on the channel. And those of you who've been watching the channel, you'll know that there has been something called Imperial on my channel before, and that's true. From the same owner, in fact, from Chivas Bros, who are owned by Pernod Ricard. Korea, where I reside, they have a blended Scotch whiskey. Basically, it's just for Korea called Imperial blended Scotch whiskey. Very interesting whiskey. I'll be doing more of that in the future. Anyway, so that's from Chivas Bros, just for Korea, and then we've got the Imperial, also owned by them, so they own the name. There's no problems with any sorts of copyright or trademark infringement because it's theirs. Anyway, distillery date. We've got a distillery date and the bottling date here. So this is the 18th of September 18th of September 1995. And bottled on the 7th of January 2016, so this year. Probably the most recent bottling from Signatory, at least for that Un-Chillfiltered collection, which I believe shows as a, as a 1998 vintage, 1995 vintage, 20-year-old. Okay. All right, so this distillery, well, first of all, it is located in Speyside, in the Speyside region, in a place called Cairn, which happens to be a distillery town. So, 1897 was when the distillery was founded, and then a town, I guess, right outside the distillery for the workers had sort of come into being, was probably built for that specific purpose. No indication of population as of now for Cairn. It just calls it a distillery town. This is here on Wikipedia. Okay. All right, so 1897 it was founded. A fellow by the name of Thomas Mackenzie was the one who had the idea, built it. The architect was the famous Charles Dueg, who has done a lot of the distilleries, the older distilleries, and those that are especially known for their sort of pagoda style. I believe that was the malt floorings, where they turn the malt on the floor. And then it closed a bunch of times for various reasons. Reopened briefly before the First World War, I think. Closed, reopened after the Second World War, when it was enlarged and updated by the Scottish Malt Distillers. That was a former big conglomerate. 85 it was closed. Allied buys it in 1989, reopens 1991. 1998 it's mothballed. Chivas buys it 2005, and then it's demolished in 2013. And probably, as I mentioned, looks as though the rumor is, and perhaps it's not even a rumor, that it will reopen at some point as a new Imperial Distillery. Yeah, anything else about that? No, I don't think so. All right, well, so let's get on to that. Before we go into the nosing, we'll have a very short advertisement right here. Welcome back. On to the nose for Signatory Vintages, the Un-Chillfiltered Collection, Imperial Vintage 1995, 20-year-old, 46% ABV. You can really get a sense of its age. So there's lots of smells that one learns that seem to go along with, seem to come out in these older single malts. Now, 20 years is not especially old in the grand scheme of things, but this is where you begin to notice some of the unusual flavors that come from longer maturation in wood, and the interaction between the spirit and the wood, and even just the air, the time. So there's some herbals there, a little bit of leather, something like a cedar oak. Yes. And there's a little bit of briquette, like Kingsford briquette smell going on there. A little bit fruity. Some citrus. Some apples. And there's something of a slight medicinal quality to it as well. It reminds me somewhat of Clynelish, in fact. Not very much in the way of peat, but there's that sort of charcoal, burnt wood sort of scent coming through here. Very engaging nose. You can smell that for a long time and get a whole number of things. Okay, well, let's get on to the tasting for this one. Cheers. Very smooth for 46%. Quite fruity. And similarly in line with Mortlach. There are some of these sort of meaty, musky kind of fruits going on here. Some papaya again, muskmelon, there's some sweet herbs in there too, like the effect of a bay leaf in a tomato based sauce, so something bay leaf-esque, but not really the smell, the taste of a bay leaf. And again, since I'm tasting this, well, yet again I haven't been able to try this enough times to have a clear flow of nosing, tasting finish, so I'm getting some of the finish now. So again, some rich fruits, these papaya, perhaps a touch of coconut, something slightly nutty there, might be macadamia, coconut, one of those tropical nuts. So smooth on the palate, buttery, silky, no harshness at all. Very, very easy to keep in the mouth for a length of time. And there's a pretty good balance here of sweetness, although the tartness is slightly bigger, a little more to the tart side than sweet, and yet still quite sweet. So these are ripe papayas, but not overly so, and nicely ripe melons, but again not overly so, where you lose the tartness and all you get is that sort of sweet, almost liquor-like flavor when the melon turns. Pardon me. In the finish here, there's something that just carries on, and slightly like fruit skins, nutty, that kind of pseudo leathery quality, and then a reasonable amount of a slight caramel-esque sort of flavor. Not really big on the vanilla here. A little bit more chocolatey now. So perhaps chocolate-covered fruits. A little bit of this dried fig in there too. So I don't know if that paints a good picture of what I'm tasting here. Excuse me. Leathery, slightly wood-forward flavors, scents coming from the nose, and then tropical, but yet also a melon, muskmelon type of flavors on the palate. Very rich, heavy fruitiness to it. Very smooth, silky mouthfeel, and then the finish. You've got a little bit of this this tartness left. Yeah, maybe a touch of caramel left in there as well, but slightly bitter, quite long lasting and very pleasant. Okay, well, we don't have a whole lot left there, but let's add just a couple of drops of water. Okay, just enough. You know, I could take care of that in a quick swallow, but we'll give it a good little taste. Okay, so with the water, let's have a short little advertisement right there. I stumbled over that one. Welcome back. The nose is... the water doesn't do much for the nose. It's really subdued the scent. And just on the woody end of things now, the well, nice. It smells nice, but the wood, the cedar. Okay. Cheers again. The papaya is really coming out here. And you throw in a little bit of papaya skin in there to balance out that musty, sweety fruit taste with a little bit of a bitterness, sour bitterness to it. And then a nice little rush, a little ping there of not alcohol, but there's a little rush of a little burst of a flavor, kind of like the fruitiness, the tartness, kind of just goes whew, as you keep that in your mouth for a little bit with a bit of water. And again, this slight little bit of nuttiness there. Now, some of my subscribers have mentioned that the volume is a little bit on the low side. So I do hope that that has improved. I've tried to put the mic a little closer to my mouth. I don't want to run without a mic because I find that you get a lot of other background noises that come through from the refrigerator, from the clock, from the outside. My heart beating, you know. Anyway, all right. Now, before we get on to the scoring, just a quick couple of mentions here. I should have put that at the beginning of the episode. Movember, yeah, that's what that is. This is a weekend away at Jeju Island in Korea. If you haven't been, make sure you check that out for your next possible subtropical vacation. Kind of, you know, probably comparable to Hawaii in many ways, temperature-wise, spring, summer, fall, and a little bit smaller, easy for, I guess, let's say a 3 to 5 day holiday. Jeju Island, please check it out. Fly into Seoul, spend a night or two there, then 3 days in Jeju, you'll go home and probably be fresh and renewed and ready for whatever else comes. Anyway, okay, now let's get into this little bit of a taste here. So I'm going to taste a little bit of the Kleinlich, the 17-year-old Kleinlich. That was Whiskey Review 122. Okay, just a good little taste. Very herbal. Now that didn't touch my mouth, so I'm going to go for one little more. Really herbal forward for the Kleinlich. Interesting. Mortlach. Oh, a lot of fruitiness there too. Very well-rounded, very malty, lots of fruit. Boy, I'm losing drops there. And then one little dash more of Imperial. There we go. I spilt some, boy, not good. Well, I'd say that the Mortlach and the Imperial are definitely my favorites from this little collection of 3 from the Un-Chillfiltered collection from Signatory Vintage. I think I'd be leaning a little bit more towards the Mortlach. Very, very well balanced, but you know, it's almost neck and neck because this one really has this really interesting tropical fruitiness to it that is lovely. Both very heady, lots of flavor going on there. Anyway, so Imperial, WhiskyWhistle, whiskey score for that one. I'm going to give it 90 out of 100 for Imperial 20-year-old Un-Chillfiltered collection from Signatory Vintage. So that's the WhiskyWhistle whiskey score, 90 out of 100 for Imperial 20-year-old Signatory Vintage Un-Chillfiltered collection. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe to A Dram A Day, and if you're feeling a little bit charitable for Movember this year, I would love it if you would spare $1 or a pound or 1,000 won and donate that to the Children's Heart Surgery Fund through A Dram A Day. Go to justgiving.com/A Dram A Day, ADRAMADAY. I'll put a link in the description, scroll down there. And lastly, subscribe to WhiskyWhistle. Please share this review. Please comment, tell me what you think of Imperial if you've tried it. I sure hope you do because it's very interesting. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you for the regular programming next, which is going to be a nice one from Glenmorangie. Goodbye.